Hi, you're listening to Book Chat with author Vivian E. Moore.
Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode. We really appreciate you joining us. This podcast really shows us how we can all learn, live, and thrive off of each other. By sharing our knowledge through our conversations, we will impart some knowledge whilst learning ourselves how to progress even further. Here is your host.
Hello and welcome to Book Chat. I am your host, author Vivian E. Moore. Hope everyone had a great week, and I hope you are having an even better weekend wherever you are. All right, so I'm not going to hold you for too long today. We're going to get straight to today's show. The title is Another Part of Me, and the topic is how characters reflect author characteristics. Most of us can identify with today's title, and it is a hit song by the legendary Michael Jackson. All right, nobody can do it better than he did it, and we can identify with that. I'm pretty sure we can. All right, but in some cases, such as writing and character creation, more is less, and I'll tell you exactly what I mean by that. All right. Not to say some personal author influence is necessary, but remember, you are in charge of character creation, but you are not the characters you create. All right. Did you get that? Because you need the characters to take on human qualities and emotions. As a writer, it's your job to do that. To infuse those characters with all of the human traits that you can possibly give them. Commonly known as characterization. All right. Most writers are familiar with that term. I mean, you learn that in Writing 101. Hopefully you do. But if you haven't learned that word today, you've learned that word. All right. So, just on the real, readers, they embrace the real things that they can identify with, that they can identify within themselves, and that they can form a connection with through those characters. We want that as writers. We want the readers to be able to identify themselves within those characters, because that's how you win readers. That's how they become fans of authors, because the writer has spoken to them in a way that that no one has ever done before. So, at the same time, they realize that the characters are, fictional, but still they see some real qualities within those characters. And that's what you want to do as a writer. You want to make that connection between the reader and the characters. All right. Because it's hard as a writer not to influence the characters with bits and pieces of who we are as their creators. All right. I look at myself as a human being, and we know that we share the image of God. He made man after his own image. So, not to say that we can create anything like God can, but on paper, we can create characters and we can influence who they are with bits and pieces of who we are as their creators. All right. So, in a world that is filled with people just trying to find their place within it, and when they see themselves reflected in characters that you've created, sharing some of those same traits with them, that's the imprint of a great writer. We don't ever want a reader to feel isolated and not see themselves in the stories that they read and the books that they choose, because that is so important. When I think of little kids, my grandchildren, for instance, I want them to be able to, even if they're looking at a book online, but if their parents should happen to take them to a bookstore, and they go to the children's section of that bookstore, and then they don't see a book that reflects them in that cover, how do you think that makes them feel, you know? So that's why it's so important, as writers, because we are influencers, whether you see yourself as one or not. We are influencers, and we want to be positive influencers, and therefore we want to be able for everyone, the readers that we write for, the characters that we create. We want the readers to be able to see themselves reflected through those characters. Okay, that's another thing. That's another good writing tip, to be able to do that. To personalize the story, not so much about you, but little bits and pieces of you reflected in those characters. All right. As writers, we can always connect with our readers, or we should connect with our readers on a personal level by sharing the human side of reality through those fictional characters. We need to do that to keep the story lively and believable. If you're reading a book and you don't see anything that is relatable, it's like, okay, that doesn't even make sense. You've lost a reader. But you want to gain that reader and other readers by bringing in those human characteristics, okay? Because every story, it starts with the character experiencing some form of conflict or a dilemma. The goal is to allow the readers to view the world through the eyes of the characters, okay? Allow them to step out of reality and just move into this fictional world. It's like that Calgon commercial, if I can spit it out of my mouth, that used to air on television many years ago. Women, and men could relate to that commercial. Calgon, take me away, because sometimes you need to just step out of reality just for a little bit, and you can do that through the world of fiction. Okay. Through a book, just reading a book helps you to step out of reality just for a couple of hours, just so you can regroup, okay? And then step back into reality, refresh and feeling new. All right. I as a writer, I understand that concept to let the readers see what the characters see and feel what the characters feel. Let them experience every high and low the way we do in real life. Okay? That is the goal. And characters, they often take on human characteristics involuntarily. Okay? Especially if a topic or storyline is something the writer has experienced and allows the characters to tell their story indirectly. I see that happen a lot. You can tell when a story is deeply personal because of the content, because of the characters. You can just feel that those writers they took on the skin of those characters, and and just filled themselves with those character bodies and or character avatars. I think that's the word for today that people use, and allow those characters to tell their story. How, no matter how personal it was, or what the topic was about. Maybe it was something that they couldn't speak about, to someone, but they allowed those characters to take on their own personalities and to tell and share their stories with the readers, because you never know how they can change someone's life. You may not be able to talk about it, but if you allow the characters to talk about it, it could be touching so many people out there that are reading that story. And maybe it can help them go and get the help that they need, depending on whatever the story is about, okay? Whatever the topic is about. It could be something happy, it could be something tragic, but still, as I said, writers are influencers. In many ways, we are influencers, and we influence the readers by the stories that we write. So we want to, we want them to feel the realness of the story. Even if the characters are fictitious, We want them to feel the realness of the story that the characters are telling to the masses. All right. And, you know, in some way, a characterization, it's a form of therapy for the writer. And it is a way for them to express their opinions, discontent, and happiness using fictional characters like surrogates. All right. It's just another way to think about it, you know, as a writer and as a reader. Because, again, you know, we do share bits and pieces of who we are as the writers. We share those pieces with the characters that we create. And sometimes we're not even aware that we're doing that until, you know, after everything is said and done. And then you're sitting back, you know, reading the polished copy. I was like, oh, man, you know, I didn't realize I did that. But, you know, it's just, you know, whatever is in you, it pours out through those characters. And that's just the realness of the story. That's how we connect with the readers, by being real, because that's so necessary when writing a book. We want the readers to feel what those characters are feeling, to go through what they're going through and to identify with them, you know. And again, you know, that's just it's just the great imprint or the imprint that a great author leaves behind every time they write a story that has depth and emotion involved within it. All right. So overall, okay, it's okay to inspire readers to feel what makes all of us human. It's just another part of the author and the characters they create. All right, folks. So that is today's show. I hope that you learned something today, and that I left you with something that you can work with, whatever you may be going through. But and if you get the chance, go and listen to the Michael Jackson song "Another Part of Me." That's one of my favorite songs by Michael Jackson. I'm just a fan and a lifelong fan. And, you know, and so sorry and sad that he's not making music anymore. But still, you know, he was an influencer. All the songs that he wrote and recorded, they live on. And so all we have to do is just, you know, go out there to wherever you listen to your music, and, you know, and download a couple of his albums or tracks, or, you know, whatever you want to do. But, you know, listen to Michael Jackson today, because I plan on doing that. But anyway, and make sure that you tell those who you care about the most how you feel about them, because tomorrow is not promised. Today may be the only chance you get to say that. So on that note, I love you. I hope you love me back. Until the next time you hear my voice, God bless you, and goodbye.
Loved what you've heard on this week's episode? Well, the answer is simple. It would mean the world to us if you could head over to iTunes and leave us a 5-star review and feedback. Spreading the word really is the best way to grow our podcast and achieve even greater things. Thank you.